Hello everyone, and thank you for joining today. My name is Catherine and I'm part of the client service team here at ANZ. Welcome to today's ANZ Transactive Global Training webinar, where our topic will be service requests. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that I am joining you from the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I also acknowledge the traditional owners of the various lands on which our attendees are joining from today. I pay my respect to elders past and present and to Aboriginal and Islander people joining us today. These webinars are designed to provide you with information and resources to unlock the full potential that ANZ Transactive Global has to offer your business. This includes a full range of institutional banking services, including cash management, data insights, loans, commercial cards, trade and markets. ANZ has brought these together to create a complete omni-channel digital banking experience. Today's session will cover the new digital solution that is available within the platform, allowing you to improve your efficiency when dealing with ANZ and empower you to engage with us digitally. Please feel free to utilise the Q&A function throughout today's session. We will aim to work through all questions. However, if we are short on time, we'll be sure to answer all questions post today's session. A recording of this session, as well as all Q&A, will be made available for review or for sharing with any of your colleagues who couldn't join us here today. That completes the formalities, so let's get into today's session. This offering within Transactive Global will allow you to submit, track, and manage your service requests in channel and be a single entry point into the bank, providing you with a new and preferred way to engage with us as opposed to the phone and email channels you may currently be utilising today. Let's go into the reasons why this is our preferred channel. This centralised single sign-on platform takes all the guesswork out and will route your requests to the respective team to action, or it may even be smart enough to action it in a matter of seconds via straight-through processing. It will improve overall efficiency, save valuable time, and fits in perfectly with your existing support model and escalation framework. What's even more exciting is that it's available around the clock. So regardless of where you're located, you'll be able to receive ongoing support any time of the day. Before we start navigating around the site itself, I will provide a disclaimer and notify you that this is not a live customer site. It is being utilised for training purposes only. Please also note, given that this is a test environment and it may behave a little different to our live customer sites. I've just logged into Transactive Global and I'm currently on the main home screen, which is the default landing page. The site itself will be very familiar for most of you. This new feature has been created to have the same look and feel as the existing products already held within the platform, making it extremely intuitive and very user-friendly. On the left-hand side, you'll notice a few different options available. This will depend what products have been enabled on your profile, and everyone's profile will look a little different. Today, we'll be focusing on the Service Requests menu. In order to see this option in your navigation menu, your site must first have Service Requests enabled, and a Service Request role must be assigned to your profile. Once you click on the Service Request tab, you'll be presented with the main grid, and you'll notice that 4 submenus appear under the main Service Request menu: Payments and Transactions, Digital Channels, Accounts and Legal Entities, and Upload Documents. We'll take you through one service request under each submenu and show you how simple it is to lodge your requests. Let's start with Payments and Transactions. Payment and transaction service requests are requests that relate specifically to payment and transactions, ordering check and deposit books, and other general account inquiries. The payment and transaction screen provides you with a list of all current and past service requests that have been submitted by yourself and others, as well as those that have already been completed. The requests you can see on this screen will depend on the account you have access to as part of your service request role. If we click on the new icon, we're presented with all available payment and transaction service requests. I'll take you through one of our most popular service requests, which is the Trace Transaction request. You will need to select the relevant account from the drop-down list. Once selected, you'll need to locate the specific transaction you're hoping to trace. If you're able to input the post date, this can be entered as a single date or a range, and this will allow you to narrow down your search. You'll then be able to search for the results and locate the required transaction. You'll also be able to view the transaction type and transaction narrative. Once you've selected the transaction you require to trace, click Next, and you'll be taken to the Review and Submit screen, where you'll be able to cross-check the information prior to submitting your request. You can then submit your request. A pop-up with your request status and reference number will appear on screen. It's as simple as that. From there, you can raise another service request or view the request details. If we view the service request, you'll be able to see a full summary of the request you've just submitted, along with any comments or supporting documents provided, as well as the audit history. The audit history provides us with the date and time a request was lodged, as well as the username of the individual who submitted the request. If you close the request, you'll be taken back to the main screen, where you'll be able to see your trace transaction request in the grid, along with the request ID and request status. You also have the ability to search through the grid, filter your search, and sort your columns. You can also save these settings, so they're preset next time you log in. If you're attempting to lodge a service request, but you're unable to locate a suitable category from the available list, you do have the option to submit a general account or transaction inquiry. This allows you to lodge any and all inquiries digitally within the one channel, with the added benefit of live tracking and in-channel communication. Let's move on to digital channels. Digital channel service requests are requests that relate to managing your digital channel users, whether this be adding, amending, or deleting users, as well as deleting accounts. You'll also notice that this grid does not contain any of the payment and transaction requests. These are all stored separately under the different tabs. Once again, if we click on the new icon, we'll be presented with all available digital channel service requests. Please note that the user requests are for ANZ managed users only. Company managed users can be managed by the site administrators via the Administration tab, which we'll touch on shortly. In this scenario, we'll be adding a new user, a new ANZ managed user to Transactive Global. The digital channel ID, legal entity, and jurisdiction will already be pre-filled for you. You'll need to input the new user's personal details in the allocated fields. As always, we ask that an individual's full legal name be entered. This will help us identify if we hold a valid KYC profile for the individual. There are also a number of mandatory fields that need to be completed, which are marked with an asterisk. And where required, information icons have been provided to remove any confusion. If we scroll down to the security device details, you'll notice that there are two options available: an ANZ digital key and a token. For those who are not familiar with an ANZ digital key, or ADK, This is a security device in the form of an app that is installed on your mobile phone that enables you to log in and authenticate ANZ digital channel activities and transactions using a PIN, Face ID, or a fingerprint. Using the ANZ digital key as a digital token replaces the need to carry a physical security device. You will then be adding permissions to the new user. You do have two options here. You can either copy permissions from another user or add individual permissions. You can also assign multiple roles to a user from this screen. If you select Add Permissions, you'll only be presented with all available roles that can be assigned to a user. There is also a brief role description if you're ever unsure what a particular role is or what level of access it provides. Let's pretend for the purpose of this exercise that this new user needs to be an administrator against the Transactive site. You are going to select the Customer Admin role and click Continue, and then select Add Permission. And this role will appear in your permission list. If you're unhappy with your selection, you always have the option to select the tick box on the left-hand side and remove permissions. If you were to copy permissions from another user, you can either select a user from the list provided, you can type the user's name to filter through the list. You can also view the user details on the right-hand side. This will allow you to see what roles this user has assigned to their profile, as well as view the permission settings for each role. Once you're happy with your selection, you can copy from user, and the permissions will be copied to the new user. The copy permissions from another user is a great option if someone is leaving the company and you're attempting to set up their replacement to ensure they have mirrored access. It's always a good idea to place your own personal reference against the request. However, this isn't mandatory. If you click Next at a Mr. Mandatory field, you will not be taken to the Review and Submit screen, and any missing fields will be highlighted in red for your attention. In this case, we have not provided a mobile number, which is mandatory when requesting ANZ Digital Key as the user's security device. Once all missing fields have been completed, you can again click Next, and this time you'll be taken to the Review and Submit screen. If you scroll down to the bottom of the screen, you'll need to read through and accept the terms and conditions before proceeding. You'll then be able to submit the request. The request status will show as pending approval. This request does require 2 approvals before it can be sent for processing. Once you're back on the digital channels screen, which you can access by clicking OK in the pop-up, you'll see the Add User Request in the grid, and you'll notice the request status is pending approval. If you click on the request, you'll be able to view the details of the service request, the audit history, as well as approve, reject, or cancel the request. If you choose to approve the request, you will need to use your physical security device or ANZ digital key to perform the approval. Please note here that the person who created the request is providing the first approval, and another individual will need to log in and provide the second approval to fulfill the dual approval model requirements. Once the 2 approvals are performed, the request will be submitted to the bank for processing. If any additional information is required, the service request status will move to a More Information Required status, and an automated generic email notification of the status change will be sent to the requester, advising them to log in and view the details under the Comments and Supporting Documents section. To ensure you don't miss out on receiving these email notifications, please ensure you have an up-to-date email address registered against your profile. You can then communicate in channel with us by adding comments or attachments. Some users may also need to provide additional certified documentation to complete KYC prior to having their profile set up. If this is the case, you can also restrict document access to ensure other individuals on the site are not able to view other employees' restricted documents. It is important to make sure all information is provided before clicking Submit. Once submitted, the request will move into an Information Provided status, and the comments and attachments provided by you will be added to the Comments and Supporting Documents section, acting as an internal audit log. You'll then be able to track the progress of this case on the digital channel screen by the request status, and it will also provide you with the request due date, which is in line with our current SLAs. You'll also be able to view your unique reference here if it was originally provided when creating the service request. Let's note here that we've already reduced the overall turnaround time by 48 hours for form pre-population, and additional effort in scanning documents, obtaining physical signatures on hard copy forms, and various emails back and forth. Given that other users will also be able to see these requests, it's quite handy for others to either follow up on a request on your behalf or avoid duplicating requests that have already been lodged. Let's move on to accounts and legal entities. Accounts and legal entities service requests are requests that relate to account and legal entity management, such as opening or closing an account, amending statement preferences, adding or deleting an account signatory, or amending legal details. Amend statement preference is one of our most used features under this category. Let's lodge this request together. We will first need to select the account we're hoping to manage, noting there is a limit of 10 accounts per request. You will then need to individually amend each account preference by clicking on the Amend icon on the right-hand side. You'll notice certain fields are marked with an asterisk. These are mandatory fields that need to be completed in order for the request to be lodged successfully. Once you've made the appropriate amendments, you can save the changes and work your way through each account. Select Next, and you'll be taken to the Review and Submit screen, where you can submit your request. It really is that simple. Amend Statement Preference is one of our requests that is processed via straight-through processing. In a matter of minutes or less, your request will be processed and the status will reflect the outcome, successful. This saves up to 48 hours when compared to submitting this same request via our email channel. We've also recently launched the Stop and Resume Paper Statement Service Request under this subheading. This is just another example of continuous improvements being made to our digital capabilities. Last on the list is Upload Documents. Upload Document Service Requests are requests that relate to payment and transactions, digital channels, or account and legal entities that require users to upload an ANZ form. Clicking on New will again show us all the available upload document requests. If we click into Open Account, you'll see how the request guides you to download the ANZ form and upload a signed version via the drag and drop function, where you can submit the form for processing. While you are still required to complete a physical form, the Upload Documents screen allows you to obtain real-time status updates on your requests and receive notifications upon completion of your request, along with a full audit history and activity log. It also allows you to house all your ongoing service requests in one centralized place, and you're also able to export your requests into a CSV when required. The future scope aligned with ANZ's digital strategy is to continuously transition requests across to web-based forms. As each service request is transitioned across, they'll appear under their respective submenu for you to start utilising. We will now take a moment to touch on your site administration. If you're an administrator, you will have access to the Administration tab on the left-hand side. Administrators have the ability to view, create, and manage users. Administrators can assign permissions to users when creating a new user and managing an existing one. In this case, we'll be adding service request permissions to an existing user, which we can do through user management. Within user management, you'll be able to select the user who needs the service request permissions added to their profile. If you select Edit and scroll down to the User Permissions section, you'll be able to add individual permissions or copy existing permissions from another user. Upon saving the changes, the request will need to be approved in accordance with your administration model. The final portion of our session today will be focused on all service request permissions, as well as additional support material that is readily available for you to access. We will take you through to our online help portal, where all this important information is stored. You can access this at any time from the help icon located at the top right corner of your Transactive site. Once there, you can scroll down to the service request link and a number of useful resources will be available for you. Please set some time aside to familiarise yourself with these links. There is a lot of valuable information here that will support you in making the most out of the service request capabilities. A breakdown of each service request can be found under Service Request Types. If we expand each category, you'll be able to see a description of the request and any approvals that may be required before the request can be sent to ANZ for processing. Earlier in our session, I mentioned that the Add User request required an approval in order to be submitted, which you can see is presented here. If you're ever unsure how to create a particular request, you can select a category under the Create Service Requests heading, and a breakdown of the request will be available for you, along with screenshots and step-by-step instructions. Under Administration, User Management, User Permissions, you'll be able to find a breakdown of each service request role that's available. This will also highlight whether a role is ANZ managed or company managed, which will give you an idea of how these roles need to be assigned to users and whether the role requires access to a security device. As always, we encourage you to submit any and all feedback you do have about our digital capabilities via the feedback link that can be found in the online help portal, or alternatively, you can reach out to your ANZ representative. We'll now move on to the Q&A portion of today's session. We've had a couple of questions come through during the session. I'll do my best to answer as many with the remaining time we have. If we don't get around to answering all questions live, we'll respond to all questions via the Q&A chat function. So the first question we have is, our site is set up with a triple administration model. Will the service request approvals follow this setup? So your approval flow for service requests will align to your site administration model. So before a request can be submitted, if you're currently on a dual administration model, the same rules will apply. So 2 approvals will be needed before a request can be submitted. And if you are on a triple administration model, once again, the same rules apply. 3 token holders will need to approve the service request in order for it to be submitted and processed with us. The next question is, Is ADK available for both Android and iPhone users? Yes, it certainly is. So the ANZ digital key is compatible with Apple iPhones, iOS version 13 or later, and all other smartphones with Android version 9 or later. And next question is, are service requests available for my New Zealand accounts? So currently there are only a few service requests that are available for New Zealand-based accounts, being managing periodical payments, adding, amending and deleting users. And if you refer across to the service request matrix, you'll be able to view the jurisdiction that is covered for each service request. So that'll be a good indication for you what is covered under AU or New Zealand accounts as well. We have time for one more question. Can I upgrade a company managed user to an ANZ managed user through the self-service portal? Yes, you can. So this can be completed through the digital channels submenu, and that would be under the amend user option there. So you can either search for a user ID or enter the pre-existing user's name, and you can complete the web-based form to complete their upgrade. And the amend user feature can also be used to replace a user's token, update any personal information about a user, such as their email address also. We'll pop in one last question. How do we enable service requests? So we do have a dedicated digital servicing team in Melbourne who are managing and supporting our customers to set up service requests. So you will be engaged by the team via email. So do keep an eye out. It's our digital servicing team here in Melbourne. They'll reach out and support you with your site setup. There'll be no forms required. Essentially, email approval from yourself will allow us to enable this functionality for your site. So that brings today's service request training webinar to an end. I would like to thank you again for taking time out of your busy day to join us, and I hope that you found this session very informative. A reminder that a recording of this session, as well as the Q&A, will be added to ANZ Digital Services Help in the coming days, should you wish to revisit anything I've spoken about today or share this with your colleagues. You can get there by scanning the QR code that is currently on screen or by clicking on the help icon next time you log into Transactive Global. Before we end the session today, a quick look ahead at our upcoming schedule of Transactive Global training sessions. We will be taking a short break over the Christmas period and resuming back with our next session on Wednesday, the 28th of February. And this session will be focused on Transactive tips and tricks. Registration can be completed by clicking on the registration link in ANZ Digital Services Help. All webinar sessions will be posted here, so please keep an eye out on what may be of interest to you. That concludes today's session. Once again, thank you for joining this ANZ Transactive Global Training webinar. We hope you enjoy the upcoming festive season with loved ones, and we look forward to bringing you more Transactive Global Training webinars in 2024. Thank you.